Hey, so I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about the ego. I know I've talked about it quite a bit before, and I wanted to specifically talk about the ego, how it protects us, and how we can work with it in order to move through time-space more freely. So, so let's take, for example, and this is based off of some of Jung's studies. So we start with the self, our sphere of influence, our aura, our energetic field. So we start with ourself, right? But the way that we travel through time space as human individuals is that there are events that occur that sometimes we become frozen in. And so I'm going to represent that by a single point. And this can be any point in time, right? But it's somewhere where we're a bit stuck and we feel like we need protection. And also, just to make things clear, when we're born, our ego and our self are overlapped. They are one. We are born into this world as complete whole beings. But as soon as this event occurs, we create whatever type of space that we can in order to protect ourselves and to give us the illusion of time passing, even though we've been frozen in this moment of time. And that is when the ego emerges. And the further the ego juts out from the self is the more distance we kind of deceive ourselves into thinking that we've created from whatever this event was. It doesn't necessarily have to be something extremely traumatic. It can be some type of mundane experience that has influenced our self-concept, our narrative, our story, and has allowed us to maintain a specific role that we feel like works for us, even if it doesn't, even if we get upset of having the same type of opportunities or the same types of relationships, so on and so forth. Ow! So for example, let's just say, you go, the longer you spend, the further out the ego goes in order to protect us, right? Until we don't even know ourselves, people have a difficult time recognizing who we are. And so that's why a lot of times some people feel like they're being overlooked, or people don't really know them, or they don't really have any friends. I'm not saying this is always the case, but I'm saying, it is definitely a contributing factor. So we end up having this huge distance to where the two are separate. And that's when we begin to not even recognize or know ourselves because of whatever happened in us trying to put this distance between what had occurred that got us into this state that made us believe that, we exist in some type of set narrative or way of living or a cycle of events. And so this is something I feel like I'd take a moment, it's like our baggage, right? Because now we're trying to move in this one direction. We're only restricted to some type of linear pathway, outcome, narrative, right? Because of this distance we're so fixated upon, right? Because the need to kind of move away from whatever this was without actually being able to identify it for more than just what kind of defines us, for lack of a better word. So this is our baggage. This is our bag that Robert Bly talks about, where we stuff all of our shadow into. So our self becomes our shadow. So we become our shadow the more that our ego is out there in the world attempting to protect us and shield us and give us the illusion of having moved on from something. And so it causes us to no longer be present. We're no longer in the self. We're not present. We're not grounded. We're not gathered in our being in this moment. And so we're frozen in time. And so a lot of people who are experiencing this feel like time is moving rather slowly, or that nothing ever changes, right? All of these things about kind of working against time. And so it's necessary, and I tell some of my clients to do this, to go back in time. Either we do it through past life work, or we do it through a simple meditation where we gather as much detail day to day, week by week as possible until we get to that point. And then we spend as much time as possible building out that scene in as much detail as we can. So we kind of rewind in order to gain presence in that moment, to expand ourselves in that moment, to allow ourselves to retrieve all of the possibilities, all of the other goings on that were happening in that moment, to better understand who we truly are, who we truly could be, and who we told ourselves that we are, right? And so then we're able to break free from that linear pathway. We're able to eliminate that dot, and then we can become a possibility of dots, of moments, of dimensions. Looking like a chocolate chip cookie, looking like a snack you are. And so then the ego becomes back imposed over the self. And then where other little dots emerge, we might anchor there for a moment, and the ego kind of like oscillates a little bit, kind of like we're like a little sand dollar or a starfish, right? And so we're able to generate some type of momentum. We're able to then move with a greater sense of self. We're able to move with our values, with our integrity. We're able to observe things without going outside of ourselves, without losing ourselves, and without becoming unconsciously overly protective. Now, this is when we break free of the 4D time space. And this is when we start operating with time, so much so that we break into 5D. Because there are all of these possibilities going around us all the time. And we're knowing kind of where we're guarded, we're protected, and then we come back in. You know, we come back and anchor again in one of these now moments, in one of these points in time. And so we're able to have this amazing kind of high vibration field continuously operating around us that is in collaboration with our ego. So the ego is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not being utilized correctly in terms of our consciousness, in terms of our energetics, in terms of time. So something to consider. Now, many of you know that I used to offer past life sessions about a year ago. I just brought them back. If you would like to book one, just book a coaching session and let me know in the intake form that you are booking a past life session. That way, we can allow you to step out of linear time and back into a non-linear creative space. What is he doing back there? Anyways, so thank you so much for listening in. If you have any questions, book a session with me. We can explore this further, as well as I have plenty of other tools to help you get back to yourself. Be that delicious chocolate chip cookie of infinite time and space. Bye for now.